How's it going, Star Seekers? My name's Gotcake, and in this review we're going to be taking a look at retro games, or as it's known on the eShop, Retro Games Pack. Now the eShop description says that the bundle contains a collection of our favourite retro games that we grew up playing or wanted to play as a child. And in this case the term collection is referring to only 3 games. As we hit the main menu we get some pretty horrendous sounding chiptune music playing in the background, which we can promptly mute by hitting the Y button. We then get to select between 1 and 2 player mode, and to begin with we'll take a look at single player. So the first of 3 games that the Retro Game Pack contains is Pong, which we get to play on a vintage CRT TV, which in all honesty could have done with a bit of a polish. Now this appears to be the Atari version of Pong, and if you haven't heard of the game, which wouldn't be a surprise in this day and age, then let me teach you the basics. Each player controls a paddle either side of the play area and they're able to move it up and down. A pixel or ball then bounces between the players, and the objective is to get it past your opponent's paddle. Successfully doing this scores you a point, and the first person to get 11 points wins the game. So that's Pong, which I agree is a classic that's as old as time itself, so let's move on to our next game. For this game we get to handle a legendary relic known as the Nokia 3310. And the game we get to play here is likely one that anybody growing up in the 90s would have played, and it's commonly known as Snake. You basically control a snake and have to eat pixels that appear on screen. Each pixel you eat grants you a point and increases the length of your snake, and every so often a bug appears which you get extra points for eating. The objective is just to score as many points as you can, and the game will end when you collide with your own body. Now there are actually 3 modes available to us in this game. The classic mode allows you to pass through one side of the screen, which then makes you appear on the other side. Box mode reduces the play area, sticking a wall around it, which will end your game if you collide with it. And the third and final mode is campaign, where you have to collect 10 pixels to move on to the next level, with each level featuring a different layout. If you're finding things too easy or too hard, you can also change the speed setting of the game, which increases or reduces the movement speed of your snake. So now that we've played 2 iconic games, let's turn our attention to the third and final game in this bundle. Commonly known as Noughts and Crosses in the UK, or Tic-Tac-Toe in other countries, the game is normally played on a piece of paper, or in fact any surface you can get your hands on. The game's rules are simple. Each player is assigned either circles or crosses as the mark, and they take it in turns to place them in one space in a 3x3 grid. The first person to succeed placing the marks in a horizontal, vertical or diagonal line wins, but games can also result in a draw if no one manages it. Now this version of the game features 5 different grid sizes, and the diagram to the right of each grid indicates the number of marks in a line required to win the game. So that's basically it for each game's single player mode, but we can now jump into 2 player mode for some human on human action. Taking a look at Pong, we see that the paddles still work fine, the ball still moves between each side of the screen, and it's very much still the Pong that everyone knows and loves. Jumping across to Snake, 2 player mode sees each player taking control of a different snake, and you both have to work cooperatively to eat the pixels. If at any point one player collides with another or themselves, then it's game over. Moving finally on to Noughts and Crosses. Now I don't even know why I'm really bothering to explain this one again, because nothing has changed, and I'm blatantly just trying to make this review longer than it needs to be just for the watch time. But Noughts and Crosses, what a game it is. But you know what, it is so much better when you play it using a virtual pen and paper, because your virtual pen will literally never run out of ink on you, and you'll never have to flip your virtual paper over when you run out of space on one side of it. Noughts and Crosses, good times. So let's get back to being serious and let me give you my opinions on the Retro Game Pack. Firstly, I'll say that the visuals and sound of both the Snake and Pong games were spot on, and pretty much a faithful representation of the original games. Noughts and Crosses was also fine, and the various sizes added a little variation to gameplay. But let's be honest, these 3 games are going to hold your attention for about 10 minutes before you get bored and head back to your Minecrafts, Fortnites and Animal Crossings. If you're as old as balls like me, then these games will provide a dose of nostalgia, and you can even show your kids and be like, oh look kids, this is what a real video game looked like back in the day. And then you just watch as they look at you with so much disdain that you wonder why you even bothered. In all honesty, I don't really know who this bundle would appeal to. I suppose Pong and Snake are worth reproducing, but honestly, Noughts and Crosses, it was never a great game, and who can't afford a pen and piece of paper but can afford to buy this game? Anyway, before I go on too much, let's just rate the game. Now I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with a shovelware stamp of approval reserved for the worst games on the eShop. This rating is based on my own personal opinion on what a game has to offer in terms of gameplay and value for money to potential buyers. And for a rating I'd give Retro Game Pack 1 out of 5 stars. While the games in it are classics, well at least 2 of them anyway, beyond the nostalgic appeal, I can't really see much of a reason for them to appear on the Switch, and the inclusion of noughts and crosses was especially baffling. Now I've wasted my money on this game for this review, so you don't have to, but if you really want to, you can get the game from the UK Switch eStore when it releases in a few days for £4.49, or right now from the US eShop for $4.99. And that's it for this review of Retro Game Pack. Let me know your opinions in the comments section below. As always, hit that like button if I saved you some monies, subscribe for future Switch indie game reviews, and join the growing Starseekers Discord community where I'm always up for a chat. For now though, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, game on.